dot. So I'm calling the Equity Commission to order, or the meeting to order at 6:30. So now we're starting. Is there any citizens communication? Looking up. I don't think so. Okay. Now moving on to item 3A, discussion and consider action to approve Equity Commission regular meeting minutes. So these are the minutes from the May meeting. If y'all haven't already gotten a chance to take a look at it, if you have any problems with it or anything needs to be fixed, speak now. But otherwise, I open the floor to any motions or discussion. Okay. Well, if there's not any comments, the chair will make a motion to approve the minutes as is. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Claudia seconds. All right, all those in favor, raise your hand. All right, unanimous. Great. Moving on to item 4, or 4B, which is discussion regarding an update to the City of Pflugerville Transit Development Plan. I have Emily Barron, our Assistant City Manager, on that. So whenever you're ready, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, Commission. Thank you for having us again. Tonight we'll provide you an update to our transit development plan. We came to the Equity Commission earlier this year. The City of Pflugerville is going through an update to our transit development plan. And so we kind of kicked it off earlier, and we're towards the end of that effort. You might have seen on our social media or Key to the City some surveying that we're doing to kind of wrap that up. Our partners are Capital Metro, who's here this evening, and Nelson Nygaard Julian is here to walk you through a presentation. And generally just kind of hit some of the highlights. Part of this is funded through federal dollars, the plan is. And so with that, we partner with Capital Metro because they're the regional transit provider. So that's why you see that as a plan. That's not an assumption that will be the end result for our transit development plan, but likely a long-term solution. And so with that, we're seeking any feedback you have before we wrap up the plan. And with that, I'll pass it over to him.
Thank you, Emily. Good evening. My name is Julian Bautista Rojas. I am a consultant with Nelson Nygaard. And as Emily explained, I am working with the city and Cap Metro to develop the Pflugerville Connect plan, which is a transit development plan, or what we call a TDP. What is a TDP is an update. What is Pflugerville Connect? It's an update to the city's TDP. These documents are generally updated every 3 to 5 years, and they serve to identify transit needs and potential future investments. This TDP is led by the city, but working in partnership with Cap Metro. What are the key inputs to a TDP? Well, we did a comprehensive review of the existing and emerging trends, which included socioeconomic characteristics of the study area as it relates to travel needs. We also identified the most common regional destinations and points of interest, such as places of work, school, medical facilities, shopping, and recreational facilities as well in the region. And we also documented the current available options within the city, transportation option that is, within the city, but also other services in the surrounding vicinity. But also we have been working in a lot of community input, and we have done 2 community rounds of community engagement, and I'll provide some update on what that means and how it's been. But we've been going out to transit users and non-transit users, as well as providing some surveys for residents and everyone around. What is the outcome of this process? Well, it's a document that will incorporate the findings of this existing conditions I mentioned, summarizes the community feedback, but ultimately it will outline a set of recommendations informed by the community's desires and needs. The document will provide the city with guidance for potential future solutions and implementation to increase transit investments in the city. Where are we in this process? We are right about mid-August, so we're wrapping up our second round of community engagement. We are also in the process of identifying a preferred package of options that will align with the priorities and comments that were identified through the engagement process, through engagement of stakeholders as well as the community. And to that extent, I'm going to start providing you with the update on engagement so far, or the process that we've done. Through the existing conditions work for Pflugerville, we identified different groups of potential transit users. These 5 groups you see on the screen are seniors, persons with disabilities, workers, young adults, and the youth. These are very broad groups, but each of these groups typically face different kinds of challenges and present different transportation needs, and their individual alternatives vary amongst these groups from each other, and they vary amongst each other. For example, the youth group will likely to have to depend on a family member to move around, just to be driven to their destinations, while the workers or the folks in the workers group won't have much other options rather than owning and maintaining a private vehicle, or maybe catching transit options, or maybe again relying on a friend or family to be driven around. Something else to keep in mind is that every person on the city or every person on these groups will is people that can use transit, and anyone can use transit, but the frequency of use of each individual groups will vary as well. They will likely be using it at different times of day or different extents as well. So for our process, when it comes to transit options, we started by envisioning a broad range of alternatives or options, sort of like a toolkit. These are 5 options that we envisioned for Pflugerville to begin with, which include the ride-hailing voucher, which is no other and very similar to what the Fetch a Ride service that runs today. Microtransit options too, which is typically operates within a boundary, a zone. It works as similar to with an app or via phone, in which you have to book trips within this specific area, and typically connecting them high demand areas. You can think of this service as the Cap Metro Pickup or the Carts Now on demand service that also operates nearby. And these also serve very busy districts and active busy districts. They're more successful in those environments. Limited stop route, it's a service that connects really strong anchors, like the service that operates between Round Rock and Ted Ridge, or the service that operates the Carts Metro Connector 990 that operates between Elgin and Manor into downtown. Again, connecting strong ends. Local stop route is a typical local bus stop service that operates with bus stops every 100 feet or 1,000 feet. It operates in a busy corridor with a lot of activity on either end. But also the 5th one is it's a paratransit service that would normally be jointly provided with the local stop route option. This is a requirement of the federal government, and it requires to provide a buffer of 3/4 of a mile around any local bus service. So from these 5 broad options, most typical transit services, we proceeded into focusing in 3 options to build a package that would service Pflugerville in an appropriate, tailored for the Pflugerville needs, but also that would derive comprehensive solutions for the users that we identified in the prior two slides. And so what are those potential transit packages that we have built? Well, the current package is it's based on the ride-hailing voucher, so just basically staying with the current type of service, but possibly expanding the allowance per month for users. This would encourage an increase for the cost to the city, approximately under $500,000 a year. But the cost to the user would be between $4 or $5 a ride. This option would also likely increment the number of allowable trips or times its use. The second package is the ride-hailing voucher plus a limited stop route, meaning the two services would operate overlapping to each other. You can see the trip planning benefit would be improved because this is a service that you don't have to prepare in advance, right? The limited stop route, you don't have to prepare in advance, you don't have to book a trip, you just show up every 30 minutes or so, and your service should be showing up to connect you to your destination. This would increase the cost to the city between, ranging between $500,000 and $1 million a year. And the cost to the rider would look like between $2 to $5 per ride. And the last package, it would be the full set of alternatives, this full set of options, sorry. Ride-hailing voucher, a microtransit option, but also the limited stop route. The microtransit option would also overlay on top of the ride-hailing zone, fetch-a-ride zone, but also operate concurrently with the limited stop route. This is the most comprehensive solution, and it adds up cost to the city, and starting with a cost of $1 million a year or over. But the ranges, but the benefits are the most, again, the most comprehensive and the most positive. All these costs are preliminary, but the detailed costs and estimates would be provided in the final report. And we're still working on that, and it will likely also change with, through the engagement process that we've been going, because we'll try to weave in the comments that we've received so far to develop the appropriate recommendations. As far as community feedback, I'm here to also provide an update on how that has been going. We started with 2 rounds of engagement. The first one, we had a really successful participation in the Slice of Pflugerville Festival. We set up a table, this photo right there, you may have seen us out there. We had a really interactive exercise in which folks gave us their first, second, and third choice as to how we should be focusing in level of importance for the mobility of Pflugerville, what sort of goals we should be trying to support as we develop the alternatives. We also did a survey that ran between April and end of May, beginning of April and end of May. It was available in both English and Spanish with a little over 550 responses. Their response rate was largely of Pflugerville residents, and this is one of the biggest takeaways from the survey, in which folks really wanted and encouraged us to continue to explore transit service and bus service option within Pflugerville and to other surrounding cities. That summarizes our first round of engagement, but our current round of engagement, which we have which started last month, includes work at the farmers market. We came to the farmers market 2 weeks ago. Again, bilingual staff was present and available to try to capture comments and feedback. Over 20 people approached us at the bench with a lot of enthusiasm about the option. Some folks were able to complete the survey on the spot as we provided QR codes and an iPad as well to walk them through if needed. And lastly, the second survey that is still open, and I want to ask you to share out with your contacts or to your families. It's still open until the end of the week. So far, we have received 160 responses, and we are seeing the same amount of responses from Pflugerville residents. 94% of the respondents are residents of Pflugerville. A strong support for the continuation of rideshare vouchers. Half of the respondents are interested in maintaining the Fetch-A-Ride type of service, but also solid support for microtransit and a limited stop route option. And with that, I just wanted to open up for questions.
So I'm not sure if you might not have the exact number, but since this is being funded by federal grant, or is this a rolling federal grant? Like it's an annual program or grant that we have to apply to, or is it kind of like a one-time thing?
Emily? Yeah.
For the transit development plan, there are certain 5307 funds that we use for the actual planning document. We do this every 3 to 5 years, and it is something that we're eligible to receive every time we do the plan.
Okay. So what are I guess maybe it's still preliminary, but like what are the current plans, or at least for the city to fund these kinds of packages?
Well, part of our effort here is to get the engagement from the public to see what the response is to transit.
Okay.
Our Fetch-A-Ride program has been well received. We see that growing month over month. In rides, not only from kind of the Uber and Lyft, but also from the wheelchair accessible vehicles, so that serves primarily our disabled or senior populations. Those continue to grow, and so within our proposed budget for FY24, we do continue that Fetch-A-Ride program, but certainly the TDP and this update will help to inform how we proceed with that project, as well as future transit decisions that council may consider.
I have a question. So currently, the Fetch-A-Ride users can access the voucher, right? Are there any questions on these surveys that pertain to what if we remove this voucher? Would you still use this service? Like, I'd be curious to know, like, if at any point the city is considering removing that voucher.
We haven't today considered removing it, but again, that's up to council and kind of how we budget every fiscal year. And so this is just wrapping up our first year of Fetch-A-Ride. Prior to that, we did partner with Capital Metro to see in a pilot program. Y'all may recall us talking about that briefly last time, is would transit be received by the community? And so with that, we got some great numbers, and really it came down to kind of the cost of that program, and the ability. What we heard after that was, how can we expand it to cover the whole city? To do that in a transit, like some of the options listed here, is incredibly expensive. We seem to, at this moment in time for our community, been able to address the transit needs through the Fetch-A-Ride program, but as we get more feedback and needs are addressed and our community grows, that's why exploring transit options long-term is important. I don't know if any of the questions really said, what if we took the voucher away? Would you still use this type of program? I don't recall.
Yeah, no, to answer your specific question, no, the wording is not necessarily around like TED or, A or B option. It's rather like what is the interest on either of like any of the options. And, to the extent of like, basically to Emily's point, we're trying to gauge the interest and, support for these additional expenses and expenditures and, that takes to build a stronger transit system. The fetch and ride option has proven to be successful and positive, but it seems like there is good appetite and understanding that, that part of the engagement process is to create an understanding that it comes to a cost to the city and, but that they're obviously part of the report will also outline, strategies to cover for those costs.
David had a question?
It's kind of a multiple type question, because I know we went through this before. I'm a senior and with limited mobility. Most of the locations when we talked last time were limited in the scope of where they went. It seems like y'all still are going towards that idea, which doesn't benefit people like me who might need a ride somewhere else around here, like tonight coming to this meeting, and so that would really affect a lot of the people that I know that are going through health issues in my neighborhood. And also, I'm curious, with all the people you talk to, I get the feeling that a lot of the people that you're dealing with and getting responses from are younger people who are still gainfully working and going other places, and not so much us seniors who need help to get from point A to point B, and that's the issue that I have with options 2 and 3, because they're limited in their scope of the places that they go. So, and from experience as a state employee and contracts, all of them are going to cost us money. It's just a matter of how much. And so, right now, that should not be the determining factor, but what is the best value for the most people.
So David, what exactly, what kind of package would you like to see if, I guess, the ones that they presented were not, sufficient?
Well, I'm not saying none of them are sufficient. I like, the first one where you could call for a ride is the best option for most people. And because when we talked the first time, you was able to get a ride from here to HEB or here to the transit station.
So you're leaning a bit more towards like an on-demand service?
Yes, because a lot of people I know don't go to those transit stations. And there are so many different HEBs around here or other places people need to go. So that's why having limited locations only benefits a small group, a small number of people.
Yeah, thank you, David. Oh,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Did all 3 options have a fetch a ride time?
Yeah, let me
Yeah.
step back a bit. I don't have a very specific, like a broad, big map to show you, but this basically all 3 options, yes, keep the same fetch a ride hailing voucher to provide that sort of service that you're referring to, David. Folks would have the ability to. We're trying to cover the entirety of Pflugerville on this option.
Now, could I ask a question? The red location that you have outlined, what part of Pflugerville does that red outline cover?
Well, this
About
is
from
the
where to
most
where?
the higher activity corridors and the higher downtown and as well as
Spokane and
Spokane,
685.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So highest activity and as it connects to the 2 major corridors.
Claudia's had her hand up for a while, so.
And I think I'm kind of thinking along the lines of David, but maybe I'll ask it a different way. as I was looking at your comparisons of the three packages and the benefits and the stars, what I was struggling with was like the user case, the user journey, like with a real or fictional person. Like this is an elderly person this is a typical needs. This is where they're trying to get to. This is what this looks like under this versus this versus this. Or, another case would be like a youth, right? Like someone in the young age group and where they're typically going. How does that look like under option 1, option 2, option 3? Like where you can see the limitations more starkly. I would hope the city, before they make any decisions, I think, there's nothing like a user journey, user case, right, under those scenarios to see
Yes.
what's really valuable and serving the community versus not. Because the stars just, I'm having a hard time really getting to the crux of like, how does this help or not help that youth or that elderly disabled person?
Okay.
So more like a suggestion to glean
I
that.
see, yeah, I see.
If you haven't done it already, maybe it's part of what's already been done.
We did start to envision that type of, how each group would
Yeah.
be benefit for each
Yeah.
package, but we're not there yet.
I
know,
got it.
and right off on hers, using me as a case study.
There you go. He
It's
nominates
107 degrees outside today. I cannot go to a bus stop and stand there and wait
Yeah.
for somebody.
And that's what I,
I will pass out because of my intolerance to heat. That would not benefit me well to be sitting there waiting on a bus. So, those options are out for me.
can I finish my thought? 'Cause
Yeah,
it-
go
and
ahead.
that's what jumps out when you actually use a human being at the center of the example
scenario.
versus
Yeah.
like 2 stars versus 1, right?
Yeah.
So, going off of that, so you said you did studies on like potential people using it. Do you happen to have the data on just transportation in general, like just how many people have cars in the city, how many people use transportation in their daily lives? Like if they go to Austin and then they take a bus or something like that. Like, do you happen to have any of that?
It's
specific
part of the
data?
analysis we did. Yeah, we did something called the transit propensity index. We use all the census, demographics, socioeconomics analysis, and I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. I don't know if we ended up
It was something that would be
posting on the
included in the report.
website of the preliminary report, but we
Okay. Is
but
that the-
it would be included, and we can make sure that you have a hold of it if needed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I finish my second thought?
Yes,
I had a part 2. So my part 2 was on engagement, and I appreciate that you called out like having bilingual resources, right? At things like the Slice of Pflugerville and the farmers market. I guess my thought on that was more, and it may apply in the limited time we have to get engagement on this, and if not, to future engagement efforts for projects, is like making sure we're meeting people where they are. So, is the farmer's market, likely to be where you get those in the greatest need for public transportation? Maybe
Yeah.
not. So can we make a bigger effort to meet people where they are, which may not be the farmer's market. It might be apartment complexes, or it might be the community health center, for example, right? So I worry a little bit that while an effort is good and having a bilingual resource is fantastic, it's a step in a good direction, I think we can lean more into like meeting people where they are that we need that
Yeah.
feedback from.
We, I should have mentioned, we also engage with a variety of groups here in Pflugerville. Our stakeholder engagement included, grassroots groups in the area, Black Pflugerville, Senior Access, and
Good.
we did try to distribute materials, invitations, try to make sure that they knew that this was happening, and try to connect with the appropriate resources to make sure. But taken, thank you for that. Appreciate that comment.
Do we have any other questions?
Just a comment. In looking and listening to you talk about numbers, work with numbers all my life. Numbers can be skewed. depending on the people that you are getting the numbers from, you know. And so I'm like Claudia, I think that it would be better to try and find a way to reach a larger cross-section of people. And maybe it might be something that might have to come through the Pflugerville City Council office or something. But we can't, these small groups, they're not always very representative of the bigger group of people in Pflugerville. Many times, most people don't even know they exist. So the poll numbers and looking at them, it told me that most of the folks that took this were younger, you know, just looking at it. And that, to me, is not something that's going to benefit people like me who need a ride next week to the doctor. You know, so I'm just saying, look at different ways to try and don't just, here's a survey at, as she said, the farmer's market. Not a lot of people that I know go to the farmer's market. You know, a lot of those are the trendy people, but I would love to go, but I just can't. But using that as a model is not going to get you the numbers that you need.
No. Thank you, David.
Thank you. Just some next steps and an invitation again to, you know, take the survey and share it out when you can. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so now moving on to item, or at least section 5. So this is going to be some, I guess, administrative housekeeping stuff. So many of y'all know Anna Palmer had to resign from the commission. She's had, you know, kind of a little bit of issues, I guess health issues. I'm not going to get into detail with it, but yeah. We have, Jennifer had the card, so I can pass it around for y'all to sign. It's just thanking her for her, you know, her service and her work. But with that being said, now we have the position of vice chair open, and so now we're going to hold elections for that. And so, with that being said, I will be opening up the floor to nominations.
I
And
nominate
David?
Claudia. Sorry, David.
Would you like to say?
I nominate me.
Okay. Okay, I nominate Claudia for vice chair, and yeah, the only thing I have to say is that Claudia is very hardworking. She's always representing us pretty much almost all the time at the Capitol, and she wears many hats, and so I think she'd be a good vice chair. So,
Thank you for the nomination.
you. Right. Any other nominations? Okay, so do I need a motion to close nominations, or can I just do that?
I think you need a motion to close the nomination.
Can I have a motion to close nominations? All right,
I so move that we close the nominations for vice chair on the 2 names submitted.
as submitted. Okay. Okay, do I have a second to that?
Yes, a
second. Okay, second, third. All right, all those in favor, raise your hands. All right, unanimous passes. So I guess we'll start with I guess it's just per person. So all those in favor with Claudia for vice chair, raise your hands.
Can I vote myself?
You may.
Aye.
Okay. And then for all those for David? Okay. So votes being tallied, we have Claudia now officially confirmed as vice chair of our commission. Congratulations, Claudia.
Thank you.
So with that being said, we're gonna move on to the next item, which is item 5B, which is discuss and consider action on meeting frequency. And so our commission is officially, according to the way that it was created, we are only required to meet quarterly. And so the previous iterations of the commission has decided to meet monthly, so that they can have or discuss and act on a lot of different things, and also in addition to that, have work sessions if we need to meet more than once a month. And so now I'm bringing up the discussion now to see if the commission wants to continue meeting monthly, or do you want to switch to specific frequencies? If you have any suggestions, and we are now open to that.
Personally, I like monthly because issues come up that can't wait till the next quarter. I was in a meeting on Saturday, that means quarterly. Things that happened 3 months ago were passed, and and so it was behind the 8 ball. I saw an issue on Texas Tribune that I want to address at some point, but if I gotta wait quarterly to do it, then it'd be a case of what's the use?
Yeah. The idea that I had for at least bringing up the discussion is like just having monthly meetings. As chair, I worked with Jennifer to put together the agenda, and there are some months where we're able to put one together, have speakers, but then of course there are some dry months where it's just very hard to find people to come out and talk to us, and so we might not have an agenda. So Nadia, you had a thought?
Are we able to split the difference and do every 2 months instead of every 3?
Yeah.
Because because sometimes we have a meeting that's only like 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
That's like saying there wasn't much to meet about. So
Yeah.
could we just do that? Just kind of average it out?
Yeah, an idea. Yeah, that's a good idea. Add on to that too. Another thing that just came to mind is we could meet every 2 months, but also meet as needed. So if something comes up to where we, might need to meet immediately, we can meet during that off month.
Yeah.
Does that sound like
good
a good
idea.
idea?
Yep.
Okay. So that being said, we would need a motion to, to change our frequencies and when we meet. So do I have any motions for that?
I'll make the motion to move our meeting frequency to every 2 months and meet as needed.
Okay. And another thing about it, when should we start this? Should we start this starting this month, like 2 months from now, or do we wait until the next like January? That'd be better.
Well, don't we have,
Yeah, we have a
Last meeting should be.
the 20.
If we're gonna have a meeting,
Already had a schedule for this year.
then it should.
January starts the new elected
Because aren't we
persons.
meeting on?
Oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, how do we jump?
And I'll mention that in a little bit.
Okay.
So we're looking to start in September. So September would be an off month then.
well, aren't we doing the community thing with the
Yeah.
firefighters?
Yeah, and I'll mention that in a little bit.
Well, so would we meet next month to discuss the data that was collected from that, or just wait until the next meeting?
So
So if we were to skip this next month?
okay, so I think maybe a good system to have that maybe we can use, this is something that we'll talk about a little bit later too, is if the commission members decide that we might need a meeting, then maybe perhaps you can email Jennifer, and we have enough members, at least quorum, I would say, that once the meeting, then we can schedule that meeting. David, you had a comment?
Why can't we keep it what it is, but if there's not enough on the agenda, we can bypass that month's meeting and just do it that way. That way, you're able to move faster. If you've got nothing on there, then we could put out on the website that there's nothing to discuss this month for the schedule, and do it that way under the Open Meetings Act. So basically, whichever way you go, you're going to have to put it out there under the Open Meetings Act. So it will be easier to just say no meeting than to try and jump back and forth.
Yeah. My only issue with that is that people plan around our meetings, of course, or our commission, and canceling meetings at the last second, generally, because that's, because usually we set up we
Agenda.
finalize the agenda the Friday before, and it's sent out to everybody. And so when, at that point, when would we make the call to cancel
See,
that?
that is part of the planning of meetings. If you wait, because the law says that you gotta post it at least 10 days. And so,
It's 3 days.
3 days now. So you got to come up at least 3 working days before and have that information already. It's just a matter of changing your mindset on how you're planning, so if there's nothing that's gonna be on there, you start Wednesday instead of Friday. So, or do it that way. Monday instead of Friday and say, okay, Wednesday, there's nothing there, put it out, that we have nothing this month and we're covered.
Yeah.
But no matter how you do it, people are gonna be planning around it,
Okay.
and
So-
that's not gonna change.
Alright. So right now, we have an open motion on the current schedule that we have. I think if any members, I guess like David's idea, you're free to say no or to vote no on this motion, and then we can consider a new motion for, I guess, the updated schedule. So right now, Claudia's motion is that we meet every 2 months, starting with September as an off month. And I would set the procedures for if we were to need to call for like a work session on our off month, we would need a quorum of members to contact Jennifer. And, so it's not open meetings violation, so it's y'all individually reaching out to her and indicating that you would like to meet to discuss something. And then she would relay that information to me. So now, she has the motion. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, so Nadia and Sabrina seconds it. So, all in favor, raise your hands. All right, all opposed? All right, so we have 2. So the ayes have it. So we are changing up our meeting frequencies. September will be our off month, and again, if there is a need for the commission to meet, then that will be relayed to Jennifer. Okay. Let me take some notes on this. Okay. So moving on to item 5C, which is to discuss and consider action to establish an Equity Commission annual action plan and appoint related subcommittees in support of the Equity Commission pillars. So the handouts that you have in front of you, the first one is Equity Commission project charter. This is the slideshow or the, presentation that goes through everything about the Equity Commission, our goals, our pillars that we stand by, and as many of y'all know, we're a very unique commission. As far as I know, we are the only citizen-run equity commission in the state of Texas. Of course, y'all are free to fact check me on that. I haven't been able to find it because, as this commission is still young, it's still being formed. I'm doing research so I can try to find how other places are doing it, and there's not exactly a blueprint on how to do this. And so, with that being said, the second handout is kind of a working document thought that I came up with to try to formalize some of how our commission is run. So the first and most important thing, and this is something that is also on the commission project charter presentation as well, and so first and foremost for this for the handout that I have. Our commission is granted 2 responsibilities. Most importantly, we create recommendations to the city council on issues of equity and empowerment, and 2, we promote equity and community awareness and education on biodiversity. Note that that's straight from the ordinance that created the commission, and it's not exactly specific. And so what I did and what the commission has decided to do in the past year was we created a vehicle to pass recommendations. And that is done in the form of, in a form that kind of looks like a resolution, but it's not a resolution. It's edited, for convenience sake, but the recommendation format looks like a resolution, and any member of the commission may bring a recommendation forward to our commission. The guidelines that I have thought of is just to kind of help guide people whenever they want to bring a recommendation to the commission for consideration. First and foremost, the most important thing is we need to make sure that the recommendation includes any pillars from our project charter. And if you want any examples, we can provide the 2 recommendations that we passed in the past year. And so a few rules that I added that I think might be good practice for us to have is, if you want to write a recommendation with a fellow member, I would think that it should be no more than 3 people like co-authoring it, just so we can keep complying with the Open Meetings Act, and so we can have a quorum of people, drafting an amendment or drafting a recommendation. My apologies. And so I also set a timeline for a recommendation to be brought to our commission. So if you want a recommendation to be seen by us and to consider to either debate, discuss, and or pass, that should be done the Friday before the next scheduled meeting. And as y'all may remember from a few minutes ago, Friday is the very last day that me and Jennifer finalize the agenda for next meeting. And so
3 o'clock.
at 3 o'clock. So if you have any recommendations that you're working on, then it should be sent to her by then to appear at the next meeting. Otherwise, then we won't be able to discuss it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
And maybe it's a dumb question, so I'll preface it there, but
Okay.
using the things I brought up in the discussion about transit earlier, I think there seemed to be agreement, or at least that was my take, I could be wrong, about the suggestions I made on recommendations either with this transit project and or future similar projects about that user journey that we didn't see, right? Or the engagement in meeting people where they are. I said that into the universe, but those seem like things that should be recommendations that are formalized and provided to the city council for them to actually behave that way, or take that into account, if you will. Is that what we should be doing? Is that a recommendation that we should document?
So according to our commission, it's any recommendation. It's not exactly, extremely specific. The recommendations are supposed to be on issues. It's just kind of broad issues of equity and empowerment issues. And what you did mention there are those issues.
Right.
And so, I think a good thing to have is whenever we have like speakers and we have like certain comments, perhaps this is something we can add like at the end of each agenda. Like if there is possibly a recommendation that somebody might want to write, or the commission can suggest, somebody can maybe volunteer to write it. So for example, your comments were received well by the commission. So perhaps we can think like, oh, would you like to write a recommendation for the next meeting? And then at that point, maybe somebody would also volunteer to co-author and work with you on that.
Yeah, okay. I want to make sure, because that was sort of the takeaway from city council, right? It's like, we need to make these things actionable for them.
Yes.
I don't know if I can discuss it further. I don't, because it's kind of off topic, but like this specific suggestion of recommendation, Claudia, would that be towards city council, or would it be towards specifically to this, or like that commission, those individuals that are actually doing the study?
I think it's to the city council, because I think they're the ultimate like client of this work. So I saw it as a city council recommendation in terms of what they should be asking for, or how they.
So the language of the
Can
ordinance specifically says recommendations to city council. So it would go to them, and then they would, they can relay whatever information that they have to relevant departments.
Because they're never going to see me again, but they're going to have to turn something into city council, potentially. I mean, they might see me again, but Right,
Okay,
they're not
well.
gonna deliver anything to me, they're gonna deliver it to council.
If I might, so for this example that you brought up, so tonight we'll absolutely take your comments related to this specific plan, but for your ultimate goal, it might be a recommendation for engagement related to planning efforts,
Right,
to always include X, Y, and Z. And so that would be the overall, so that then departments would receive that. So whenever, at the beginning of that process, those things could be kind of checkboxes.
right,
Because I think that's ultimately your goal, is to make
Yes.
sure that those scenarios, in any effort we did, were considered. And so I think it would be that, certainly anytime any of us are here and we hear that feedback, he even noted it this evening, that we would take it back specifically for this, but I think generally that would be ultimately the product you would produce for council to take away and then provide to the city manager to distribute to departments.
exactly.
So,
So you're
so,
both right.
so again, for this document that I created, these are just kind of ideas that I had for just what I think are good rules and good practices for what our commission should be doing. So for recommendations, we should have it in before the agenda is finalized. We need to remember that recommendations are not policy. So we're not a legislative body, we're not elected officials, and so we cannot write policy. We recommend actions to city council on what they should be doing. Second thing too is that the recommendations must be city focused. We are the Equity Commission of the City of Pflugerville, and we're focused specifically on how we are looking through the lenses of different problems in the city sense. And while of course time to time we'll see, sometimes we'll get certain things on the news that might be like national sensational news on national politics, state politics. At the end of the day, though, our commission was created for the sole purpose of focusing on city issues, and that's why recommendations must be germane to the city of Pflugerville. And so, going down a little bit more too is I added commendations. Which is an additional thing that our commission could do. We can decide to, just strike it if y'all don't want to. So one thing that our commission did a few months ago was we voted to commend the city of Pflugerville for passing the Crown Act, which bars discrimination on the basis of hairstyles, natural hairstyles, and we were going to prepare a recommendation for it, but they kind of beat us to the punch, so we just kind of gave them some brownie points for that. So this is something that our commission, that I wrote down that we have done. And if that's something that y'all want to continue, then we can keep it on there. Otherwise, we can later either make a motion to strike it or to amend it, however y'all please. So now moving on to the second part of our commission's, the second responsibility of our commission, remember, is to promote equity and community awareness and education on the value of diversity. And so again, since that is vague, I put some thoughts down on what exactly that means. And so we'll talk a little bit about the fire department's event that's going on at the end of the month, but to me, I interpreted that as we invite speakers to come, to have the Equity Commission host a speaker to give information to citizens about a variety of topics related to equity. And so the two things that our commission can do, just in summary, is that we can recommend actions that the city can take and should take. And the second is we can bring in groups and speakers to inform and to educate. And we try to get citizens to come out and encourage them to come out so that they can learn more about the topics at hand. And so if you move on to the next page 2, there's the suggested format for subcommittees. When we met with City Council last month, one of the things that came up was commission members have certain topics that they want to explore and that they might not otherwise hear in the daily or the monthly commission meetings. And so the thing that was suggested is that we have subcommittees created for it, and this is the kind of the format that I created for it. So the idea behind it is that each commission member before, of course, you have to just let Jennifer know before next meeting that you would like this topic to be discussed at the next meeting. And at that meeting, that member would talk about that topic and why, like, our commission should be looking at this particular problem or topic. And at that point, we would need at least one other person to volunteer to join and create a subcommittee for that specific topic. And so the purpose of the subcommittee is y'all will go out, you will find relevant stakeholders, you will gather information, and at the end of your fact-finding, quest, you would report back to the commission, and you will have two options as relayed in the powers of our commission. We can either bring speakers to come and educate, or once again, we may draft a recommendation to council on what we should do. So, like, for example, if a commission member just for the sake of an example wants to discuss, let's say, like, firearm safety, they would come to the next commission meeting. They would tell Jennifer to put it on the agenda. Next commission meeting, they will discuss, like, why this would be an issue and why we should look further into it in the city lens. And then we'll open up the floor to any volunteers. And if there's one other person, then the committee or the subcommittee will be formed for that committee. So once that is formed, the subcommittee would report. We would have a section on the agenda for the subcommittee to report every meeting. I keep saying every month, but every meeting. So to update us on what's happening, what's going on, if there is anything at all, and I wrote also a sunset clause at the end of the document, where if for the subcommittees they are set to automatically expire at the end of the year unless we decide to renew it, and this is just for consistency's sake, in case like some members drop off and they were part of a committee, or it gives us time to revisit the need for the subcommittee at that time. And so, with that being said too, I guess moving on to the very last part. So this is kind of a rough timeline. I wanted to create kind of a timeline of our commission because, again, since we're new, we don't exactly have like a set kind of timeline on what like our commission does throughout the year, besides just, we kind of just meet, hear presentations, and then pass recommendations. And so the ideas or the suggestion that I had is January, since that is the first meeting, generally the first meeting of the year, we will have an introductory presentation, which will include the slideshow right here. And, it will walk through everything that commission does, the creation, the rules that bind it, the rules that the commission has agreed upon, and the structures, so that any new members get to learn about what the commission is, as well as any old members who need a refresher course. So if y'all have any, recommendations on how we can maybe change, or anything you would like to add or strike, then now's the time to do it. I was hoping to use this kind of like as a work session. If y'all like it, we can pass as it is. But I wanted to present this here so that we can have a formalized structure for our commission to function. So we have something that's more organized. So with that being said, I talked a lot. So do y'all have any comments, suggestions, thoughts? David?
How does this fall in with the pillars? Pillar number 5, government oversight. Review, monitor city policy and practice to create recommendations. How does that fall in with that? Economic equity, advocate the fair distribution of income, education, social justice. How are these recommendations falling in with those pillars if we're just sitting there having a few people come in and talk? These are things that, according to our own deal, we're supposed to be doing, and we're not.
Hey, Claudia, you want to say
No,
something?
I think they're related in that this is providing structure so that we can go off and form subcommittees on relevant issues and topics that do address those things. So this is just the structure. This isn't the actual pillars. This is providing a structure.
Yeah.
Like if I'm particularly interested in community safety, and I can make a case that a community safety topic has to do with social justice.
And I understand that.
Yeah,
But it still comes down to, these are the operational pillars,
Yeah.
and they're not things that should be subject to waiting on the subcommittee to have an idea. These are things that we put our hat on and said, these are the things we're gonna address. These should be things that are firm in there and not just if somebody decides they wanna have a subcommittee,
Yeah.
you know?
So the operational pillars are just, yeah, I mean, without just dumbing down, like, these are the pillars that our commission is, like, based upon. So any action that we take, it doesn't, not everything that we see in our commission applies to everything on all the pillars. And so, for example, when we passed a recommendation on book banning, you know, like, it relates to the social justice pillar,
education.
education, maybe you can argue economic equity and governmental oversight, but again, like, it doesn't have to apply to everything that we do, but it's just that the things that we do bring should be related to the operational pillar, at least one, hopefully more of the pillars that we see here. And so, again, like, the structure that I have right here is just, I would like to just think of it in a very simple, very simple way, that it's kind of like, it's not bylaws. We're essentially writing like a constitution. It's not a constitution, but you know, think of it like that. We're creating this organization, and we want to create structure and order. And so that's essentially what this document is, and we're currently trying to discuss on how we can more make our commission's rules more concrete.
And from this formation, like, using my example again, if I have a particular interest in community safety, I have to come back and bring that idea for this committee to work on. Like, I can't go off and, just because I have an idea, I can't actually start working on it until this committee votes on it.
And I'm not saying that, and that's not what this says. You know, this says right here, it says as one of the operational pillars that's what we will be looking at. I worked for the state of Texas for 22 years, working with hubs and other underutilized people, which is basically what this committee is doing. What this says is that we would look at the contracts and things that are being done by this city to make sure that they are upholding the rules and regulations. That is what this says. It doesn't say we might do it. It says that's one of the things we will do.
Mm-hmm.
And so
And
that's why I'm asking, it doesn't need a subcommittee put together to do it. It's something that should be part of our plan of action to do.
Yeah, so the purpose of the subcommittee is to allow commission members to explore topics that they are passionate about. One of the things that was discussed at the council meeting was that commission members, current and even past, felt like they were not able to pursue like the reason why they joined the commission. And so the subcommittee allows us as a commission and committee members to research, to reach out to stakeholders as a part of the commission, so that we can officially research and act on these things that you're discussing. That being said, too, we will still have like city staff and departments come and give us presentations, and whatever council decides is relevant for our commission, they will put it on our agenda to review. And like, of course, like, for example, we had the police department here a few months ago giving us statistics and information about their practices. And so those things will still be happening, those presentations will still be happening, but the purpose of the subcommittee is to allow y'all to pursue what you want to pursue.
So, I'm just asking for my own clarification.
Mhm.
So, for example, if Mr. Hill wanted to address disparity or issues with seniors or disabled people, then he could actively seek out those issues and then bring them to the commission, correct?
So the idea of the subcommittee is that, they would bring at the next meeting, they would bring the topic to the committee or commission to discuss. Basically, I would say at that point, it would be like kind of pleading the case of like, this is why our commission needs to be focused on this thing, on this specific issue. And, you can bring relevant data or any other information that you have. And at that point, if, one other commission member would volunteer to create a subcommittee so that you, as the commission, like a subcommittee can officially reach out to, like city, county stakeholders on behalf of the commission in regards to these topics and bring these topics to our next, and update the commission on any findings that you have relating to the topic.
But you can't, as a sole individual, it has to be with two people on a subcommittee?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is just operational so that, like we as the commission are going to, look into this. Because we can't have one person just going out and, representing themselves as part of the commission or speaking on behalf of the commission, I would say. Yes, David?
During the time we was up there at that committee meeting, at the council meeting, I had 3 council members invite me to come and talk to them about my concerns. Now, you're telling me I will have to do a presentation to y'all before I go do it.
No.
That would not fly
nothing
in my boat.
Well, nothing's stopping you from contacting the
The
council.
whole thing is, I'm on this commission, they know, but they also know that I've written state legislation, that I've done legislation that affects cities and everything else. And so I bring a unique perspective. And, one of the things I do bring up is what it says here is we're supposed to monitor city policy. And if I got to do a subcommittee just to monitor it, then what the hell? I'm just trying to get away from listening to people come in here, talk to us, don't do what we bring up to them, and then they do this month after month.
Yeah.
So
So
I'm looking at these pillars and thinking this is stuff we should be trying to key on and not trying to come up with a little subcommittee that needs to try and spend a lot of time trying to find information.
yes. So here's the thing. So the subcommittee is not supposed to be a replacement for the general responsibilities of our commission. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, a recommendation can be brought up at any time by any, committee member or commission member. The purpose of a subcommittee is to allow more broad exploration of topics that are not otherwise, maybe brought forward to this commission. I mean, if any commission members have any recommendations or they would like a specific department to come speak to us, then that is something that we can set up with Jennifer, and we can figure something out and get them. We can still actively monitor city policy, and that's not stopping us from contacting our city council or mayor too. But again, purpose of the subcommittee is not replacing any of our responsibilities. It's not a scapegoat to get out of anything that we're doing. It's just to provide a formalized structure for us to explore more topics. Does that make sense?
How does a subcommittee meet?
So I would say the subcommittees would meet, I would say would meet on their own time. And again, these are things that we're creating now, so y'all can decide more, something else. I would suggest that subcommittees should meet on their own time.
Do we have
And
to note it with you, or Jennifer?
I would keep the chair, whoever's chair, and Jennifer posted about it. And if you need to reach out to any specific stakeholders, then we can work together and, like get help of council to help reach out to some of these stakeholders, like either city departments or, if we need, for example, maybe a county official, then maybe we can find someone. We can always bother Jeff Trevelyan, he lives here. But, but essentially subcommittees would meet on their own time. They would do, it's just kind of on your own research, homework. And we, the chair and Jennifer, and would be willing to help, or not willing, but we are going to help you succeed as best as you can.
Okay.
I just wanted to add, my biggest takeaway from that city council meeting was pick one thing. And I don't think that was just directed to all of us collectively, but individually, to your point, how do we move things forward by focusing? And I think that's what this is really trying to help in that process of focusing.
Okay.
And then, my only other consideration, and I value your legislative experience, but we are a commission and everyone brings valuable life experience and perspective. And this is each of our individual opportunities.
And I have no problem with that, but I will put it to you as this is my last statement. I'm looking at what it says here. I've looked at the records for the last couple of years, and we're not living up to our pillars. And we could bring people in to talk numbers all we want, but I heard what the police chief said, but then I also found the article that gave the numbers of the year before, which gave a totally different outlook on it. And so, just getting them to come and talk numbers, don't get me wrong, they're nice people, but I don't trust anybody else's numbers but me able to do an Open Records Act and see it myself.
So I
so
guess,
this-
we keep going in circles.
Yeah.
Like you keep harping on, I don't want to sit in front of a presentation. I don't want to sit in front of a presentation.
Yeah.
But having a subcommittee allows you then to be, if you have another member, to do an investigation in that capacity. All right, let's do an open records. Let's sit down and talk with the chief and question you as to why was your presentation this, and I saw this report. That's, I see your point, but this is where this is trying to get us moving to be more productive.
Okay. And I would love to be productive, but I've been on here for 6 months, and I haven't seen any production, and that's why I'm saying this right now. And if this is the way you want to go, that is up to you. It's the will and pleasure of the group.
So-
But I will probably not want to be a part of it.
So, again, if there's anything that happens from the presentations that you feel strongly about, you are always welcome to draft a recommendation, on what the city council should do. Because remember, at the end of the day, we can only create recommendations to city council related issues of equity. Like the two things that our commission, two powers that are listed in the text of our commission, are that we recommend and we promote equity and community. And again, while those are vague, we can't exactly change staff policy, after they give a presentation. It would have to be done in an official channel, which is why our commission approved, our commission adopted the structure for a recommendation. And so this document right here is to provide even more structure, so that moving forward, our commission can work more efficiently. And again, remember, at the end of the day, if there's any city staff that comes up giving presentations and you feel you have ideas on what they should do different, you may draft a recommendation at any time. You don't need a subcommittee to draft a recommendation and bring it forward. Once again, like, subcommittees are just here so that, as Daisy mentioned, it was a great point, subcommittees can be created to further look into a presentation. Like, we can have a subcommittee further grill our police chief on the numbers. We can present them the numbers and we can find out more. But the structure created here is so that we can have an official way for our commission to explore the things we want to explore.
So the recommendation can be written by an individual, it doesn't have to have 2 or 3? It's just recommended to have 3?
No.
Or up
so,
to 3?
So the recommendation can be written by anyone.
Okay.
It's just that if you want anyone co-authoring it, so either they help you or they want their names attached to it, it can only be up to 3
But it
members.
doesn't have to be co-authored.
It does not have to be. It can be an individual recommendation. It just cannot be more than 3, otherwise that violates Texas Open Meetings Act.
The library will close in 15 minutes.
So do y'all have any amendments y'all might want to make? Any changes to this specific format?
New library cards will be issued tonight. If you want to pick it up, please call now. Thank you.
If that means anything to, sorry, go ahead.
I like it. Do the recommendations have to be approved by people before they're sent to city council?
Yeah, so the recommendations that are brought before our commission, when we vote to approve it, it is our commission officially presenting a recommendation, to council, on the specific topic. This is us taking an action as a body. If, of course, if you have a topic that, for example, you bring forth a recommendation and the commission decides not to move forward with it, that's not stopping you from contacting council members on your own. You're free to talk to them. They're very accessible. But as a structural, as a body, this is the means for us to officially take a stance as a commission. And one thing that I will add to, if it means anything, I used to work in the state legislature as well, so some of this is a bit informed by my experience there. With that, I will actually make a motion to amend this document specifically for the Equity Commission recommendations. I will put that at the end of each official meeting. If there are any recommendations that are brought forward, I would say, let's say we can call that like a recommendation suggestion time. So if anyone has any points that they've made during the presentation or questions that are brought up at that time, then one of y'all may volunteer to write a recommendation. And at that time, if anybody wants to volunteer to write on to be a co-author, then we can do that at the end of each official meeting, so that we have an official way for us to discuss what we just saw. So let's see here. So let's say suggested. So with that motion, do I have a second for that motion to amend?
I second it.
Okay, Claudia seconds. All those in favor, raise your hands. All right, all those against? Okay. All right, ayes have it, so it is amended. So, is there any other amendments, strikes that y'all would like to, or suggestions you would make to this structure? Of course, we can update this at any time if something comes up later, but do y'all have anything else now?
Subcommittees can be brought up at any point, right?
Yeah.
Is there any particular reason that it's set up on the schedule for February's? Or is it, what does that mean, the new committees?
So this was just kind of a suggestion for a timeline. So January is the first meeting. Generally, since it's the first meeting, we use that kind of like an introduction to everyone and to explain everything that's going on. And then I was hoping that February, once everyone is educated about how the commission is run, our rules and structures, our policies, organization, then February would be a good time for people to start, throwing out recommendations for like subcommittees and stuff like that. I mean, we could have it so that people do it in January, but if you have new committee members here, I think January might be a good month to just,
Figure it out.
figure it out, just kind of marinate on it for a month, I would say, before we dive into our projects. But again, since we changed it to
Every 2
I guess
months.
every 2 months, we could decide, maybe to meet in February if any comes up, let's say. So we can still leave February as an off month, though. If there's any subcommittees that want to be formed or this topics, then that's something that we can add. So again, this is not like an official. The very last thing is not like an official timeline or anything. It's just kind of a suggestion. But if y'all have any recommendations on how what we can add to this timeline to make it a little bit more uniform and a bit more focused, we're open to that now. Anyone?
I guess what I'm thinking about with this structure, and maybe I'm conflating things, but like, I'm thinking of like in my professional life, right? Like, I meet with our department heads, and we come up with our plan for the next year, the goals, right? Like our focus areas collectively, and formalize that. Does that fit in here somewhere in addition to this sort of ad hoc subcommittee nature?
So
And is it February, or when is that, when we can say, oh, like,
yeah, so
we want to focus on like these two things of the pillars so that we can make progress?
Yeah, I think that's something that we could have. So perhaps in January we can have a general discussion on topics that we want maybe the commission to focus on, and what that does is it gives me like an idea on to reach out to relevant stakeholders to bring to our meetings, but of course, again, that doesn't stop you all from creating subcommittees on other particular topics. So perhaps we can amend this to say January will also be a general discussion, or add a topic of general discussion of topics that we want the commission to focus on for that year.
Like, yeah, and I'm thinking like goals, right? Like
Goal. Set goals.
set goals, and I think that would add further focus for us.
Okay. So would you like to make a motion to do that?
I make a motion to have a goal session in January. Is that what that?
Yeah, motion to amend it.
Motion to amend.
Okay. Okay, chair seconds that. So all in favor of amending January, our rough timeline to have January as a meeting to also include setting goals, as a goal setting meeting. So all in favor, raise your hands. All right, all opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. So in January, we'll have our introductory meeting. We'll walk through the commission structures, everything that we can do, and then we'll talk about the goals that we would like for our commission to accomplish that year. That sound good? All right. Any other thoughts, recommendations, amendments?
Sorry, I had a thought.
All right, no, go ahead.
I'm thinking of that December report. Will the council be expecting in that December report the goals for the following year? Like, is January late, or we'll just start the process early and really formalize those goals in January? It feels like it might be late.
I think the end-of-year report is showing them how you met the goals that you had set.
Okay, so it's not so forward-looking for the following year. Okay, just making sure.
Do we currently have goals from this year?
Not officially. Yeah, and that's
It-
why
this
we
will
kind of
be a
have.
wrap-up.
That's
Yeah.
kind of why we want to. I brought this up is so that we can have something more formal. so we can have it in writing, in stone.
So from here to December, that's kind of what our wrap-up's gonna consist of, since we're setting the goals more formally right now.
Yes, and so if anything, we can kind of, I mean, we're getting towards the end of the year now, so maybe it won't be, it'll be a little bit weird, but I think once we hit January and we start on this new, semi-timeline and structure, it'll make a lot more sense. But, I guess for now though, I think if there any other goals that we would like to meet, perhaps we can bring that up at a next meeting, like, hey, what's something maybe a topic we should focus on before the end of the year. Okay, so with that being said, do I have any motions to adopt this framework or as amended?
I'll make the motion.
Right, the Claudia makes the motion. Can I have a second for
I'll
that?
second it.
All right, Sabrina seconds the motion to adopt this, this structure for our commission. Sabrina seconds. All those in favor, raise your hand. All right, all those opposed? Okay, so we have adopted this as kind of a way our commission operates. If y'all have any suggestions, of course, you are free to bring that up. At any time, any meeting. Again, there's not a commission like ours out there, and we're pioneers. We're the only ones in the state that are citizen-run equity commission. There is like 1 or 2 other equity commissions out there, but they're city-run with city employees. But we're treading waters here, and we're working and creating this commission as is. So thank you all for that. So finally,
The library is closed.
with that being said, I'll move quickly so I try not to take too much of y'all's time. So item 5D, discuss and consider action regarding meeting with area organizations. So at the end of this month, I have scheduled on, I believe it was August 24th, checking my calendar just to be sure. Yeah, so August 24th, we'll be having, we'll be hosting the fire department in Black Pflugerville. So the fire department will be giving a presentation on fire safety. They have, I've gotten to talk with the president of Black Pflugerville and deputy fire chief, and they have data on just simply how fires affect our community, and not all fires affect everyone equally. And as y'all know, it can affect you based off of your wealth disparity. Like if you live in an apartment or an area that's much older and not as developed, you might be more at risk of fires. Like those are the kinds of information and data that the fire department will bring. They'll also be bringing, suggestions on how citizens and what citizens can do to keep themselves safe. As y'all know, we had wildfires here, like that are happening now, and so it's just the right time to have that discussion. And so at that meeting, we won't exactly have an agenda of things to act on. They'll be giving their presentations, and we'll be asking them essentially what can the city do to help the fire department with its goal of fire safety.
I think that's great, and it makes me think of, we should all be thinking about what other city services could be improved for disparate impact.
Yeah. And again, if something comes up and y'all really want to hear about it, just let us know. We'll find somebody, to come out and give us information on that. But at least for this, we have fire department coming out. They actually told me some interesting data too, specifically why Black Pflugerville is involved is because they have data that says that African American males are statistically more subject or at risk for fire, for at-home fires. They're more likely to be victims of it. And so they're just coming here to present information, and Black Pflugerville is going to try to encourage the community, more members of the community to come out, and we should be doing that as well. So with that, Are there anything else that y'all would like to bring up? Just in regards to any meetings with like area organizations, do you have any suggestions?
Well, we have a whole list of organizations, right?
We do.
That, um,
I'm thinking that, for at least, for sure, till the end of the year, we should be identifying different stakeholders and area organizations to invite them to come, or have our commission host them. Yeah, and if you look in our handy dandy slideshow, we do have a few lists of shareholders. That's not a comprehensive list whatsoever, but it's just some ideas. Okay. So if there's not anything else, then I will be adjourning the meeting. The time I have is 8 o'clock. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.